Thank you for coming. Today, I'm going to talk about what NLP is and just give you an overview, an introduction and an overview of what I do. There'll be a little exercise at the end, nothing too dramatic. You don't have to share anything. It's more for yourselves, what NLP does and the power of NLP. So let's get started. May I share my screen, Charlie, please?
Yes, you can. I think down the bottom in the center. Just click it.
Yes. Share. Right. Here we go. Here we go. We're going to be talking today about neuro-linguistic. Let me just do this like that. There we go. Neuro-linguistic programming and what it's all about. It is something really recent. It was developed in the 70s. Even for most of you, you probably think that is not too recent, but it is recent for me, or in the world of psychology. What is NLP? NLP stands for Neuro-Linguistic Programming. And it began by studying the best communicators. They've put together a lot of research and just wanted to see how people who were very good at what they did, and they just researched and looked at what different attributes they had. So it began by studying the best communicators, and it has evolved into the study of human communication. Let me go to the next slide now. Why is it not working? I'll be with you. There we go. Neuro. I'm going to just break it up in 3 little bits. Yeah. Neuro is the mind, and it is how we think. It's our mental pathways to our senses. So everything we feel, we hear, we see, we smell, we taste, it triggers something in our brain. Usually this starts off at a very young age. So we already have these mental pathways that are already set. Linguistic is the language we use. So it's the mind chatter. It's everything to do with what you say to yourself. It's to do also with your subconscious, how you receive things. I mean, when you're standing there and your mind, you're chattering and you're saying to yourself, I don't think I can do this. It's all those things that come together. Let me get rid of that. I don't know why that's doing that. Programming, it's how we sequence our actions, but it is more of our mental pathways, where we go. So our comfort zones, where our brain takes us when we receive information. And these pathways, or let's say comfort zones, they can block us, they can confuse us, they can stop us from getting where we want to get to. So it's important to be aware of them and how they work and where you go to. So there are 5 legs of NLP, what we say, 5 legs of NLP. It's first, you've got to focus on your outcome. So you've got to really define what you want. You've got to explore it, define it, put it in steps, think about it, think about situations that you've done before that may help you to get to your outcome or the outcome you want to have. Sensory acuity is your senses, all 5 senses, you to be alert, to be aware of what's going on in your brain and how they react to your mental pathways. Be flexible. This is now the one, I mean, I need to work on. Change. We're not very good with change. Change sometimes is scary. Change can be learning new ways of doing things. Flexibility is, I think, the key to most things. It's for you to be open to what is working and what doesn't work. I mean, they say if you don't know where you're going, or if you don't change, or doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result is not going to happen. And adopt physiology of excellence. That is walking the talk. Believe in yourself. If it means to put on a shirt, if it means to stride or read a book or mention things that you are interested in, it is very important that you walk the talk. You put yourself in the situation. You don't wait for the situation to come to you or the change to come to you. You start straight away with what I like saying, to take action. that little piece of action that you do, whatever it is, whether it is to buy your new notebook or to think about for 3 days about a change you want to do and let it just mull over, is taking action. Sometimes we think taking action always is linked to results. It's not always linked to results. These small steps you take to move yourself forward to wherever it is you want to go is very important. There's a good book out called The Prosperous Coach, and I love when he says, get all the no's of whatever you want to do out of the way so the yeses can start coming. I quite like that when I heard that. So you get the no's out of the way so the yeses can start coming. Now, before the exercise, I would like you to just take a piece of paper. For those of you who want to take the exercise, grab your sandwich, whatever you're eating, take a bite of it, put it aside. Just do column 1, column 2, column 3 on a piece of paper. What you will be doing is you will be writing words that resonate with you. Okay, so I'll give you a second to do that if you want to do that. And I'm going to give you a few words. Words will be in each column. And in those columns, there we go, if you can see it. Can everybody see that? Let me just move you over to the right. I don't know what screen you're seeing. Choose whichever, I'll give you 2 minutes, 2-3 minutes. It's nothing, don't stress yourself over it. Just choose words that resonate with you and keep them in those columns. So if, let's say, for example, the word color resonates, put down color in column 1. I'll be quiet for a minute or two, which is sometimes not an easy thing. Just think of any of these words that
So Dorcas, just a message in the chat there.
yes.
Thinking, are we choosing the ones that resonate with maybe our personality or just the ones that stand out to us?
Stand out to you. Good question. Just nothing, just the words that stand out to you, that make sense to you.
So it might be one word from one column, might be 5 words from another column.
Exactly. It can be 3. Yeah, thank you. It can be all words in one column. It can be 3 words in one column. It doesn't really matter. The idea is not to, it doesn't matter how many words. There can be many words in many different columns. Just the ones that sort of resonate, and I don't want you to get too complicated. Right. Let me look in the chat box. I can't see my chat box. Is everybody ready or more or less ready?
Yeah, I think that's good.
It's good, yeah. Okay. Right. I would like you to add in each column 1, 2, and 3, how many words you've had, and the most words in each column is your preferred learning style, preferred receiving information style. Like I said before, all our senses, when we get information and it comes to our brain, we move it around, have it like a cocktail, and it comes out in a certain way. So all of these columns, these 3 columns, mean something. And whichever is your biggest total is the one at this moment, okay, is your preferred way of receiving information and receiving information to your brain. What I mean by that is, has everybody totaled it? It's very difficult for me to see. I shouldn't have had this thing up like that. Okay. If you are visual, your preferred learning mode or preferred receiving mode, I like to say, is if somebody shows you something. So shows you a diagram, and that will make sense, more sense to you. If you've had more numbers in the visual section. In the auditory section, which it was column 2, is you prefer learning by someone explaining things, and also you prefer to explain and talk to get your whatever it is you want to get across. You'll use that preferred method. Kinesthetic, if that was column number 3, that is, you go by feelings, how you feel. Now, let me give you an example. An example of each one of these would be visual. Someone would say, I see what you mean. I can imagine how you mean. Auditory, someone would say, I hear what you mean. Kinesthetic, somebody may say, I feel, it feels right, or it doesn't feel right. Now, you may be both or two or all three of them, depending on your scores. And just my question now to you is, how did that go? I mean, how does it resonate? Let me get out of here, stop share. Does anybody want to share anything? If it makes sense, if I'm totally wrong, if you feel that that is correct? Nobody wants to.
Yeah, I think it's correct.
Go ahead, B. I can't hear you.
Go ahead, whoever started speaking, I'll go after you.
Okay, thank you. I think it's correct. I joined first with visual and kinesthetic.
And that's the way you...
I thought I was definitely more visual.
And you are kinesthetic and...
Visual.
Visual. And does that resonate with you? Does that make sense to you? I just want you to know that all of this is not set in stone, yes? As we change, as we, I won't say the word grow up, as we learn more, as we feel more comfortable with something, they do change. So this is not something that you will be for the rest of your life, you know, depending on outside influences. But this is what you are right now. I think B had a question or...
Yeah, I wanted to say that I think just looking back at maybe like the past like couple months or something, I've been quite like the way I take in information is quite like through podcasts or through music, and like the visual side hasn't been as heavy with those like with those things, because obviously a podcast you don't really watch a podcast, you listen to it. So I prefer to take in certain types of information through that way, and then visually, like because I am kind of like a creative like or an artist, I kind of depend on that to explain things to others, and also that's how I like to be kind of taught. So yeah, my joy at first was visual and auditory, so I think that matched up with like how I learned quite well.
Yeah, it's very interesting. It's just, I mean, I just wanted to show you, it's just such a small exercise. Now imagine yourself in a team or working somewhere or having to, or a member of a family. If you know they are more visual, so to get something across is better by drawing something or explaining something or showing them a book or whatever it is. If it's more auditory, then it is by speaking. And if it's by kinesthetic, well, then through words that have a lot of feelings, words that express emotion. Anybody else want to have a go? I will give you a little story. My sister and I, as sisters do, we argue a lot. We're very close in age. And I used to always say, she yaps a lot. Sorry, yeah, if anybody's here auditory, it's fine, it's fine. But she just talks. I am 100% visual. I need to see things in order to understand things better. And one day I gave her this exercise and we both laughed, and she goes, that makes sense. That makes sense. Why you don't listen to me, you turn off. Well, she said to me, can you please send me this exercise by email? And I said, sure, no problem. And I grabbed my mobile because I know her email address, right? And she goes, I'll give you my email address. You don't need to. And I'm like, no, I've got it here. And we start arguing. And we just stopped. I said, I don't want to hear it. I want to see it. So this now is a joke in our family, actually, when she's going on and on and on, and it's gone over my head because I'm visual. She says, all right, Dorcas, I will draw a picture for you to make it look a little bit better for you to understand. And this helps really, really well in the work environment, because you can have a joke with someone and say, look, wait, can you please show me? Or somebody who needs to be told or uses auditory, you can say, can you explain it to me in words? So that's a little bit of NLP I wanted to share with you today. And it is important to know your own comfort zones, and it helps a lot in life when you need to do things, and when you want to get information come across, when you want to explain to somebody who may not be visual. I will just say, watch out now when you're having a conversation with someone. If you're explaining or having a conversation or a debate or whatever it is, or asking for something, if someone says, I hear you, or I don't see it, or it doesn't feel right, or it feels right. And it's from this little exercise. So I hope you enjoyed this presentation, and I will hand over to Charlie. I think we're on time. I think we're even, are we on time?
Yeah, no, you're perfect.
Right.
Thank you, Dorcas. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was really good. That was really, really.
I'm open to questions or.
Yeah, we'll hand over to questions. So I've got one to start us off, and then I'll kind of invite everyone else to join in, and feel free to raise your hand at the bottom on the reactions. So on my end, what I was thinking was reflection here on seeing your own learning styles, and obviously being able to change how you teach others is really helpful. But can you recognize beyond someone saying it, so even before they've even opened their mouth, or before they've said that they've seen it or heard it, or that they can feel it, can you recognize their learning style in a way that they behave, and in a way that they will just turn off immediately if you start talking to them in a certain in-depth manner, versus if you just show them something? So can you see it before they even say it about understanding?
No, but you can see it with their eyes, because we use a lot of eye acuity. So if you see someone going, you know, when you're thinking about something, some people will look up, or will start writing.
Yeah.
Or will start asking, or getting excited by talking, or feeling's a difficult one, but that those are mostly people with the kind of not mostly, they're very quiet. They're not as loud, or they're just more quiet, and they're just letting it come over them. That's why I'm saying, look out for it. Give yourself a week. Talk to your friends, have a glass of wine on Zoom, eat your sandwiches, and watch out for people saying, I hear you, or I don't hear you.
Yeah, see the subtleties in language. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Over to you, B.
Thanks, Charlie. Thank you, Dorcas, for that presentation. Very insightful.
Welcome.
I wanted to ask, so the kind of degree that I'm doing at the minute, it requires a lot on how people feel, and how people feel within spaces. So I was wondering, do you have any kind of methods or tips where I can kind of develop that method of communication? Because yeah, I don't really use kinesthetic methods to communicate often, so it'd be helpful if you did.
Yes. So let me understand your question. You want the work you're going to do, give me an example.
Okay, so I study architecture, and at the end of our term, we present our building to the rest of the class, right? And we have to describe the kind of, well, we have to communicate how the people will move within the space, or the different kind of, what made you choose a site, for example, things like that. But it's all quite kinesthetic, you know, you have to try and make people feel the way that you did, which is why you chose that space, for example. Like, so it's just a bit, I wonder if you have any exercises for how to develop that kinesthetic learning style.
Yes, to develop that kinesthetic learning is by talking. That's why I said, I mean, and you can contact me, you know, Charlie has my details, by practicing, like everything else in life, by practicing. For now, just look out for how people are communicating. Listen to how they are communicating. And I'm pretty sure by the end, and I'd love to hear, by the end of the week or 10 days time, you will start saying, oh yeah, someone did say, I hear you. Or, oh, hold on, can you draw that for me? Or I can't see the picture. Or I can't, I hear you, but it doesn't sound right.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I hear you, but it doesn't sound right is a good one for kinesthetic. I see what you mean is someone visual, but I don't feel it.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I'll let you know how I get on.
Yeah, let me know how I get on, how you get on. I'd love to know how you, actually, I'd love to hear from everybody through Charlie or directly to myself, how, you know, you're getting on with this. It can be very, I won't say powerful, but it is a very, very, very good tool. It's a good tool to have.
Awesome, thank you, B. Thank you, Dorcas. I think, yeah, the key thing there was like how to convey kinesthetic as well, and how to convey these different learning styles through teaching. But that definitely makes sense of listening to the reaction and going on the emotions as well, and seeing but not necessarily hearing it. And then I'll hand over to Augusta.
Yeah, thank you, Charlie. So yeah, it was actually really, really interesting.
Thank
I hope
you.
you can hear me, right?
It's faint, but I can hear you.
Okay, yeah.
For someone visual, I can hear you.
Right. So I never heard the kinesthetic before, and this is rather a personal question. Since you said that you are a strictly visual person,
Yes.
and you also mentioned that it develops through time. So were you always a visual person, and did it change at some point in life?
Yes. I think when I was younger, I was more kinesthetic. I went more by my feelings. I went more by how things felt to me. I think we all have an element of kinesthetic. Let's start off by that, yeah, because we all communicate by talking. We all communicate by drawing or presentations. And if something doesn't feel right, we all feel it's not right. So we all have that. But for myself, when I was younger, my kinesthetic was more pronounced. Anything I would hear or see, it had to sit right with me inside. And I called it my instinct. I used to walk around going, you know, back in my days were more hippie days and all that. So maybe that had an influence, but it's my instinct. And my instinct was, if something was told to me and it didn't feel right, hear right, see right, yeah, it was more feeling. And I think over the years, I've become more visual. I've got to see it to believe it. Just like my sister trying to give me her email address, and then she was blue in the face because she was so annoyed with me that I'm not listening to her because I shut off. And I was like, no, I've got it here. I don't need to listen. You know, it's a little extra there, you know. I've become more visual because right now I'm an NLP practitioner. I have to read the signs.
Yeah. Well,
See, feel, read the signs, feel what the person is saying. Also, my listening skills have heightened. listening is also very, very important, because if you don't listen properly, you can miss a lot of little cues. And giving somebody the time to talk. Everybody has their own pace, their own their own pace of receiving information. So for me, to answer your question, I used to be more kinesthetic, and now I'm more visual and auditory.
Okay, thank you. I see.
Yeah. What about you? What was your result, if you don't mind sharing?
I am always, I knew that I was always 50-50 because I started off as a musician.
Oh,
So, but
wow.
then I transferred to art after 10 years, and right now I'm an artist. So I have the best of both worlds.
Yes, yes. Lovely. Interesting. Interesting bunch, Charlie and Ryan.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you guys. Appreciate the contribution there, and really appreciate the answers, Dorcas. I think that's a really good kind of place to wrap up, and to thank you for your time today. Really great presentation and really actionable takeaways that I think all of us can hear about, listen to, and see in our everyday lives as well. So yeah, thank you for your time today. Really appreciate it. I'll drop in your LinkedIn in the chat as well. So feel free to connect with Dorcas as well and keep her updated with how you're getting on. But yeah, thank you.